About 100 people continuing their attempts to occupy land there illegally in Protea Glen. The land, as I was telling you just a short while ago, has apparently been set aside for a government housing project. eNCA reporter Lirandzu Themba joins us from there. Lirandzu, just a short while ago we brought a picture of JMPD officers taking down one of the structures erected there this morning. What is happening now?
Well, it was just a short while ago, Thembekile, that we saw about a good 200 residents that I've spoken to who say they are from surrounding areas around here in Soweto, predominantly Naledi as well as Protea Glen. Where we are stationed now is an open land in Protea Glen, and this is the same land that has been earmarked by government, as you've said, but also the residents of this area and the areas I've mentioned seem to believe that they have the right to stay here. What's quite interesting, Thembekile, is that they don't believe it's an illegal land invasion, saying that they've had the blessing and the go-ahead from the owners of the land who have shown them documentation that they did indeed sell this land to government, who has not paid them their due fare that is owed to them. So they're saying that because they have this permission from the owners, we understand it's about 8 owners in total with the surrounding area. Let me just move out so you can see how vast this land is, Thembekile. Well, what you're seeing now is what was the structures, about 4 or so shacks that were constructed by the residents earlier on. And of course, there is a back line of police. These are the same police officials that we saw really making their way, coming towards the crowd, and of course proceeding to fire rubber bullets as well as tear gas. Sadly, a lot of children were also here, a lot of old people were also here who were caught in this crossfire between residents as well as police. So the residents I've spoken to are quite adamant. They are saying that they are the rightful owners, if I had to put it that way, of the land, purely because it seems that the ownership here is uncontested, and they don't believe that it is up to government, especially the police, to leave them, or to rather to chase them away from here.
I see there no people in sight at the moment, but do we have a sense of whether they will return for a third day tomorrow or even later today to try and set up those structures once the police have left?
Sure, Thembekile. I mean, yesterday we did see that they did tell our colleague Malungele Boy, who was reporting on this story, saying that they will come here today. And of course, they did stick to that promise and they remained defiant. In fact, today they took it up a notch and they started to erect the structures. The people that, you know, I mean, what really transpired here a couple of minutes ago, really, was the fact that these people came here with their wheelbarrows. They came here with their, you know, equipment to really come and construct the houses or the shacks that they believe that they will stay in here very soon. And it was up until this reinforcement from police that they were forced to really scatter and run in different directions when the police proceeded to fire the rubber bullets. And of course we saw a police in Nyala here, as well as scores of other police officials who were also just spraying those rubber bullets at the crowds. So they ran into different directions. A lot of them got into the cars that were parked on this road that we're standing on right now, and they were able to basically just get to a place of safety, especially with the children that I've mentioned, where we saw children as young as 2 years old, toddlers, really just, you know, making use of this day, a scorching day, I must add, while the parents were erecting the structures. So it's not known where these people are at the moment, but just speaking to an official just before we got online with you, he just told me that they seem to be getting a call saying that there seem to be you know, gathering at a different location, possibly blockading a road. And of course, this is not an ideal situation, as you can imagine. We are also seeing quite a movement, if I might add. I'm just going to ask my cameraman to just turn the camera to the other side, where we can just see it seems like police are actually making their way to the other side, where we suspect that people are going there or have really run or made their way there after the police sprayed them with the rubber bullets that we mentioned, Thembekile. So it seems that for now it is quiet with regards to this particular land invasion. And as I've mentioned to you, Thembekile, the residents that I've spoken to here are adamant that it's not a land invasion, purely because they're saying that they've had the blessing and the go-ahead from the owners of this land.
And let's talk about that permission that they say they've received from the owners of this land, if indeed this is privately owned land, I should say, and the owners have said to this group of people, go ahead and build structures here, why is it that we're seeing law enforcement then come in 2 days in a row to move these people away?
That's the very same question that the residents are asking each other and asking the police. They're saying that, well, why are we being chased away from this land when we know that we've received the blessings from the owners of the land? Of course, we know that the police that are on ground are not able to give us any comment on air. Of course, we have to go through the various channels. But because this is quite a fluid situation, we haven't been able to make those calls to the authorities, to the police, as to why are they being pelted with those rubber bullets. But the residents that I've spoken to were quite adamant that they are not going to go anywhere. In fact, when the police were coming towards them at a certain point, they proceeded to, drop their shovels and sat down, Themba, saying that they're not going anywhere, they're not doing anything wrong. And I think it's also very important to note why these residents are choosing this particular land. They're not only just saying it's because they have the blessings from the owners, but they're saying that they're sick and tired of renting back rooms in Protea Glen, in Naledi, and all the other surrounding areas here in Soweto. They're saying that for the longest time some of them have been on the waiting list, at the RDP waiting list. I mean, I spoke to an elderly woman, I'm sure she's probably about 70 years of age, Themba, who really had the most heartbreaking story, saying that she is fed up with having to stay with all her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren in a very small house, and she feels like she is entitled to a decent living. And of course, the big question that I did ask them was, what about the services, the all-important sanitation and electricity that you would ordinarily need in a place like this? And they're saying that they will cross that bridge when they get there, saying that for now they're concerned about constructing those structures. They're saying that they'll start with windy houses as well as shacks, but eventually when they make the means, they will start really putting bricks and really putting up these concrete structures. And of course, they're also asking if the government is willing to help them out with those services. They're willing to do that. But for now, their biggest concern is to occupy this land. And they've made it clear to not just me, but also the other media that has been gathered here, saying that this is not an illegal occupation, but rather it's their way of helping government to really sort out the housing crisis that Gauteng faces.
eNCA reporter Lirandzu Themba on the scene of that developing story in Protea Glen today. We're going to touch base with Lirandzu throughout the day as police officers continue then to get rid of those structures that were set up by people who tried to occupy that land, even though they've said that they have permission from the private owners of that plot. We're going to, as I said, keep an eye on that developing story.